Welcome back to Luce Talk, our weekly take on the 2012 presidential race. This week, Mitt Romney solidified his lead in the 2012 race with a solid victory in New Hampshire following his narrow squeak in Iowa last week. The question this week is, can anything stop Mitt Romney now?
Go, Mitt, go! Go, Mitt, go!
Conventional wisdom and an already tired-sounding media punditry say that nothing can stop Romney now. No candidate previously in Republican races has won both Iowa and New Hampshire and failed to go on to win the nomination. Moreover, Romney already has a double-digit lead, according to some polls, in South Carolina. If you add into that his money advantage and on-the-ground organizational advantage, it starts to look prohibitive. But even for a campaign as blow-dried and well-managed as Mitt Romney's, there's many a slip twixt cup and lip. Here are 4 reasons why Romney may still not get the nomination. First, South Carolina primaries can be really nasty. Unlike New Hampshire, which is mostly a moderate Republican state, South Carolina is the Bible Belt. It's full of evangelical conservatives, many of whom don't see Romney as a conservative, and many more dislike Mitt Romney's Mormon religion. Back in 2000, when John McCain was running his maverick campaign against George W. Bush, his race came unstuck in South Carolina via a nasty and anonymous whispering campaign that depicted his adopted Bangladeshi daughter as an illegitimate product of an affair with a mistress. Nobody knows who was responsible for the flyers, but we all saw who benefited: George W. Bush. Might somebody, anonymously or otherwise, try to rile up the Bible Belt's voters against Mitt's Mormonism? It certainly can't be ruled out. The second reason, not to put it too delicately, is that Mitt Romney isn't exactly exciting. Even his close aides and advisors concede that on the stump, Mitt Romney really fails to generate the kind of excitement you might expect in an election year where there's a supposedly strong anti-Obama wave and ripple of excitement going through the Republican Party. The fact that in both Iowa and New Hampshire turnout was relatively low, I think speaks volumes about Mitt Romney's failure to really generate that kind of election fever. Republican voters appear to be almost as bored of this contest already as the average voter. Crucially, in both Iowa and New Hampshire, almost half of those voters, according to polls, only made their minds up on the day of voting. So beware of boredom, Mr. Romney. It can quickly turn into irritation.
Balancing budgets, important as that is, it's not just about jobs.
The third reason is Mitt Romney's alleged Gordon Gekko past as an asset-stripping corporate raider at Bain Capital. South Carolina has a far higher unemployment rate and a far poorer economy than either Iowa and New Hampshire. And given that so many of the voters who plumped for Romney in Iowa and New Hampshire said they'd chosen him because he was the most likely Republican in the field to defeat Barack Obama in a general election, any further and more damaging revelations on Romney's past at Bain Capital could really start to eat into his support in South Carolina. And if Romney's main selling point turns into a point against him, then he might have to reach into that well-known chameleon-like political persona that we've all come to know. But he's proved pretty adept at that in the past. Fourth and finally, there's still a hell of a long way to go. Anything can happen next week in South Carolina. Newt Gingrich could have another real resurgence. Mitt Romney could make a monumental gaffe in which he discloses that one of his hobbies is to watch the unemployed late at night on YouTube. And the state's evangelicals could work themselves up into a fit of anti-Mormonism. Anything can happen. To be short, Romney does remain the very strong favourite. His money advantage, his organisational advantage are really very clear, as is his momentum going into South Carolina. But in a climate as fickle and as alternately bored and angry as we're seeing in America today, predictions are a hazardous business. Look forward to seeing you next week in South Carolina.